My Lords, I want to start by taking us back 100 years. The excellent book, Pale Rider, by Laura Spinney, which both Lady Thornton and Lord Bethell have heard me quote from repeatedly, shows evidence of excess deaths throughout the late 1920s and 30s after everyone thought the Spanish flu epidemic was over. But no one made the connection. All that they knew was that there was an excess death in cardiac and respiratory disease over a decade period. Now, of course, we understand more. The scientific world is now publishing papers that show the consequences of COVID after that initial infection period. 1 in 22 will have a major cardiac event within 12 months of having caught COVID. 1 in 5 will get long COVID. As we've heard, that's up to over 2 million people to date. COVID damages the brain. Last week, a friend of mine in their 70s, who he and his wife thought had got rapid onset dementia, very bad rapid onset dementia, discovered after an MRI scan it was not dementia at all, but many, many microclots in his brain. And the more often you get COVID, the more likely you are to get long COVID or other serious consequences. One American commentator, a scientist, says, "We don't know everything about long COVID yet, but what we do know is downright terrifying. But you'd never know it if you don't seek out that information for yourself." The pandemic is a mass killing and a mass disabling event, and long COVID is going to be a defining issue of our time. There are still no blood tests to identify long COVID or ME, and she and Lady Meacher made the vital connection with other post-viral conditions. Researchers this week are seeking volunteers with long COVID to take part in a study that is looking at psychological factors, full stop. Psychological factors, full stop. My Lords, I'm just after all the evidence we've had this morning, breathtaking.